center where I'm going to be coming in late
Yeah.
April. I want to hear, like, sort of the origin and what you what you envisioned, what you desired before you actually had this amazing space, this brick and mortar space that you have now for your center. What did that look like before?
Well, prior to, let's see, it was a couple of years, I think it was 2021. I was in private practice by myself. I had been in it for a few years, went virtual with the pandemic. Um, Found that, oh my gosh, I can actually do trauma work over Zoom. I thought that was going to be impossible. I had just like old ideas about how healing could happen. I felt like that needed to be in person, but like this just opened up my world and my perception on how healing can happen. So, so I was getting a lot of referrals, both in the trauma realm and also sex therapy, because my practice has been specializing in sex therapy. I'm a certified sex therapist, and I'm a trauma therapist as well. I use EMDR as one of my primary techniques, and then also I use somatic approaches and mindfulness um, and just understanding developmental trauma and wounding and all of that. But I was getting a lot of referrals in private practice once I got going, being on my own, um, and had a long wait list. I felt terrible that I couldn't just like fit everyone in, but I also needed to be mindful of my schedule and also be able to be present with my current clients. But then I think it was around 2021 when a woman reached out who had she was completing her program or her social work program and was looking for therapy, private practice opportunities, was working for another. I was going to work for another location in town because I was just like, I'm a private practice. I'm on my own. This is good. But she ended up continuing to reach out with me. I ended up supervising her while she was working for someone else. But then I think that once we went back to in person, or people are starting to go back to in person, she was really wanting to have the flexibility of the hybrid model that I was continuing, or at least having some virtual opportunities. I wasn't back in person yet, but like having that flexibility with virtual. She ended up asking if she could work with me, and just with the timing, what was happening in my life, um, having a child in 2022, like being pregnant, having a child, it just like it all seemed to fit right in alignment to bring someone under my business name. And by the way, I had a vision that eventually there would be a center, because back in 2017, when I started my private practice, I named it Love Life Therapy Center with the idea that this was going to happen. So eventually, but I wasn't necessarily ready. But things kept happening that allowed me to kind of flow into this space. She started working with me virtually, and then we were talking about going back to in person, and then the idea of the center started to emerge again. And once in person was on the table, I thought, okay, now I want to do trainings too. I want to invite people to offer different healing approaches, because I'm finding that what I'm looking for isn't necessarily happening in the community, in terms of what I'm trying to refer people to, even. So I want a space to invite opportunities and have a space that it feels accessible and a safer space for individuals from different communities. And um, so that's when once the in-person conversation started, that's when we started moving forward. So this was just a year ago that we
Wow.
started having these conversations and started moving back to in person, and that didn't happen until July of last year. So we're not even a year in. Um, so yeah, I just felt like things were moving, people were showing up at the right time. It just happened organically to start creating this space that has been a seed that's been planted since I was in grad school in 2004.
Wow.
2000. So like, I mean, this has been an idea that's been in there. I worked for a lot of different places, got a lot of different experiences in different areas, but like the timing just had to be right. And I just trusted it, even though I didn't have anything to go on except that I knew other people who had done it before and had had some conversations. So we just started making it happen. And now we have this beautiful space with a few therapists now working with me and still growing, figuring out where our what our mission is, what our collective vision is.
Mhm.
Um, and you're part of that, like just having that conversation with you last year, just as we were starting to go back to in person and starting to create this vision, like the idea of the workshops
Mhm.
and well, not play shops too, like that, just bringing in other healing modalities that would support people's growth, because it's not just about, like we were talking about the heavy, hard um, historical things that have happened to people. It's also what do we want to follow? What do we want to create in our lives? And what do we want to learn about ourselves? Like in the like how we enjoy life. Like how do we learn that skill?
Mhm. Oh my gosh.
Even and not just yeah, and not dismissing the hard things that have happened either. It's also honoring them and offering space. But there's so many ways to heal, and I know that I don't have the one way. I know that it's a variety of approaches and practices.
Oh, Erin, I really appreciate your vision here and like the journey that you shared about planting the seed or having that idea many years ago. And it really sounds to me like you were listening along the way and you heard these different things that were coming into your path. Oh, okay, like there's a need here. Oh, somebody's
Mhm.
interested in working with me. Sounds like I need to expand. Oh, I have a wait list. I want to support those people. They're just waiting around. I think we need to create something bigger here. So
Yeah.
I love that story, partially because like you're a role model. Like I would like to maybe have a center one day as well.
Yes.
Um, so to be like privy to this journey of yours has been really exciting. And I do also want to say, like when we met, you had this idea already. Like it was kind of like you had the idea, and then I walked into your space, and you were like, "Aha!" you know.
Yeah, specifically play. That is something that comes up often with individuals who just weren't able to access play, even in childhood, because they had to grow up quick. They had experiences that they had. I mean, there's lots of reasons why we get cut off from play, or just the ideas that we have around being an adult and what we're supposed to do and how
Mhm.
we're supposed to act. So there's just a lot of supposed tos that we're unlearning, I think, in my practice specifically, and I'm sure in yours as well. That's just part of the work is unlearning and then learning something new.
Exactly. Exactly. And I used to work with children, and now I primarily work with adults, but I'm really, I'm holding close those memories of working with children and watching their delight and wonder and how that happens and hopefully bringing that energy to the adults that I work with too so that they can also remember, oh yeah, whether they had a chance in childhood to be a child or they didn't. I mean,
Mhm.
you can learn a lot from the kids in your community. Maybe you have your own children, maybe you don't, but
Mhm.
I think, it's there. I think children really, they hold a lot of joy usually.
Mhm. Mhm.
And if that's nurtured, then they can they can really teach us something with that.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I love it. I love it all.